Hi, Right Writers, Cruz here. Thank you so much for joining me. In this video, we are going to be writing a persuasive essay. Our topic will be talking and texting while driving, and our goal is to write a solid persuasive essay in 20 minutes. We want to exceed basically 100 words. We want to try to push for as many words as possible under the time constraints. For those of you who are practicing the Oxford test of English, you will have 25 minutes on a given topic, and the maximum number of words that you are able to create will be 160 words. However, my goal is really just to see how many I can write, how many words I can write in 20 minutes. And hopefully, this vulnerability on my part will help ensure your success as a writer. Because as you see my struggles, you understand that your struggles are not in vain and you are not experiencing these struggles alone. Let's go ahead and read the prompt, right, writers, and then I will start my timer. Some states have now made it illegal to drive while talking and texting on a device. Do you think this is a good law that should be passed in other states as well? Why or why not? Explain your answer. Let me go ahead and start my timer, right, writers? And I don't know if you sort of heard me hiccup a little bit, but I did right here in this part, in this second sentence. And I think the way it's written is a little bit in my mind or in my ears, it sounds a little bit awkward. But while I'm thinking about it, I also am thinking, well, it's there's something weird about it. And so I need to make sure that I review it. It says, do you think this is a good law that should be passed in other states as well? So it almost sounds like a two-part question. And that is the first question is, do you think this is a good law? That's the first question. And then the second question is, do you think this law should be passed in other states as well? So, when I'm writing this essay, I want to make sure that I address and answer both parts of that second sentence here, or really the second question. And I just wanted to highlight that, writers, because sometimes we can just easily gloss over the topic or the prompt, and that's where they catch you and they're like, haha, got you, you only did one part of the prompt, and so they can take points away for that. So let's make sure that we understand the prompt clearly and that we answer all parts of the prompt. Okay, let me go ahead and start my response. Always start with my therefore, right, writers. If you've seen other videos, you know that I am a big fan of, again, starting with my thesis. That will be the last sentence of my introduction, and it will be the first sentence of my conclusion. So I'm going to say, therefore, I believe making it illegal to drive while talking and texting on the device is a good law. And then I love my one of my favorite transition words, indeed. Indeed, this law should be passed in other states as well. Now, you might say, well, Cruz, you're really just copying exactly what it's stating. Yes, I am. And I am being intentional about that. There is a reason that the prompt is given to us. So I'm going to use all the tools available to me. And some of those tools are the words that are right in front of me. So I want to use them to my advantage. So now I want to think about, again, how I want to address the beginning of this. And something that comes to mind, and again, part of this is perhaps, right, writers, my own experience as a motorcycle rider, and that is, you know, when I get on a motorcycle, I understand how vulnerable I am to all of these possibilities, whether it be wildlife, whether it be cars, pedestrians, people on bicycles, little kids, dogs. I mean, I said wildlife, but any animals, weather conditions. So, when you put on your helmet and get on your motorcycle, you definitely feel that not only that vulnerability, but you recognize how exposed you are in the elements. Whereas when you're in a car, you feel protected, you feel safe, you feel almost, um, you know, maybe I guess the word would be invulnerable. Maybe the word would be, you feel unstoppable, you feel empowered, you feel protected. And so I, I'm thinking about that. I also am thinking about, advertising campaigns. I know in the United States, a lot of times, some campaigns or public service announcements, that I recall have to do with, the fact that driving is a privilege, that it is not a right. And so I am thinking about that. I don't want to veer too much off topic. And so while I'm explaining to you this whole motorcycle riding idea, it's not really on topic, but it gets ideas flowing. And again, I'm just sort of thinking aloud. Sharing with you aloud what I'm actually thinking, what's going on in my brain as I'm considering what I'm actually going to write. So, I mean, I definitely think this idea of driving is a privilege is a great, beginning sentence to sort of start this topic, especially when we're talking about laws. So, I want to focus on that. I also think about, again, when I'm about to get on my motorcycle, there's this whole routine that has to happen, before you actually just, jump and ride. It's not like a car where you can really do that. We're sort of on autopilot, and we, um, or on cruise control, where we just sort of go through the motions, of getting in our car, starting the car, and driving off without really recognizing that, we are driving a heavy piece of machinery. It's a big machine. It's, again, it's protective. It does feel like it's protecting us, but it's also quite dangerous. So that's sort of, I think, the route that I want to be going with, right, writers. And as I'm talking, I've got 13 minutes remaining, 13 minutes and 40 seconds. So let me get to typing here. Driving is a privilege. I was thinking, like, we often take for granted, or we forget. Um, we often, forget. I actually want to do a complex sentence, or make a complex or a compound complex. So I'm going to use what's called, a subordinating, conjunction here, or what I like to call dependent markers. Um, when opening our door, when opening our car door, driving is a privilege. When opening our car door, when opening our car door, entering and starting our vehicle, and placing our hands on the wheel and our feet, and I will say foot because we just typically use one, and our foot on the pedal. When opening our car door, when opening our car door, entering and starting our vehicle, and placing our hands on the wheel and our foot on the pedals. That sounds weird, feet, so I'm going to say, and our feet on the pedals. We sometimes forget that we are operating a dangerous machine. That we are about to operate a dangerous machine. Okay, let me check for flow on this, right, Ryder, and then I've got to move on because I've got 11 minutes remaining. Driving is a privilege. When opening our car door, entering and starting our vehicle, and placing our hands on the wheel and our feet on the pedals, we sometimes forget that we are about to operate a dangerous machine. These machines Boy, I want to use a transition word like thus, but that we are about to operate a dangerous machine. However, it is important to remember that we are about to operate a dangerous machine. However, it is important to remember we sometimes forget that we are about to operate a dangerous machine. However, it is important to remember that this machine requires our full and undivided attention. Ooh, I like where that's going, right, writers? Therefore, okay, I like that. Therefore, I believe making it illegal to drive is a good law. Okay, I am going to worry about flow later, time permitting. I'm getting my conclusion ready, right, writers? I have 9 minutes remaining, 9 minutes and like 10 seconds. So, therefore, I believe, making it illegal to drive while talking and texting on a device is a good law. I think I'm going to delete that sentence there. Driving is a privilege. Um, when we open, um, when we open our car door, and I think I'm going to change that and just sort of where and place our hands on the wheel. I'm just changing the tense here of the verbs because I almost want to say like it's as if we were driving off. When we open our car door, enter and start our vehicle, and place our hands on the wheel and our feet on the feet on the pedals. Um, it is important to remember that this heavy and large machine requires our full attention, or requires focus and attention, requires that this heavy and large machine requires focus and attention. Indeed, those tiny devices, those tiny distracting devices, indeed, should not. It is important to remember that this heavy and large machine requires our full focus and attention. Indeed, those tiny distracting devices should remain out of sight and out of mind. Okay, I really like where that introduction and conclusion, where it's going. I want to check for flow right riders, but I've got 6 minutes remaining and I really need to work on my body paragraph. So sometimes you just don't have time to go and look for flow. Again, time permitting, if I have like 30 seconds left, then I'll go through it again and read it aloud. But it's time to move on and it's time to move to my body paragraph. So, I'm thinking of this idea of this machine requires our full and undivided attention. So let's see. Indeed, this law should be passed in other states as well. Um, uh, driving. Let's see. While on the road, while on the road, our focus, our eyes and ears need to be focused. Need to be focused on our surroundings. Focused on our surroundings rather than our devices. For example, our eyes, 4 minutes and 45 seconds remaining, right riders. For example, our eyes should our eyes need to see not only what's ahead of us, need to see what's ahead of us, what's behind us, and what's around us. I like that sentence. For example, our eyes need to see what's ahead of us, what's behind us, and what's around us. Our visual focus should not be on our visual focus should not be on text messages and emails, on emails and text messages. And text messages. Okay, because the prompt discusses talking then texting. I think the texting really has to do with our eyes and talking is with our ears. So I think I'm going to move this. So for example, and then focus on ears first, our ears. And then I'm going to make this our eyes. Meanwhile, our eyes should be, our eyes need to see or our eyes should be scanning what's ahead of us, what's behind us, and what's around us. Our visual focus should not be on emails and text messages. And then, for example, our ears should be listening for example, our ears should be listening for emergency vehicles, sirens, horns. While on the road, our eyes and ears So now I've got to change this part, right, writers? Our ears and eyes. And I've got 1 minute and 28 seconds remaining, right, writers? For example, our ears should be listening for emergency vehicles, sirens, horns, and even screams. Well, that sounds a little bit weird. Sirens and horns. Emergency vehicles, sirens, and horns. Rather than, for example, our ears should be listening for emergency vehicles, sirens, and horns rather than, I'm just going to go with sirens, emergency vehicles and sirens, rather than an empty voice, a loud voice. 30 seconds remaining, right, writers? A loud voice, um, a distracting voice. 20 seconds, right, writers? I'm just going to have to go with this. Um, okay. And just kind of double checking for any scanning myself for any issues with what I see here. Timer is about to go and one. Okay, so right, writers, I really did not get a chance to check for flow on this. And sometimes, again, that happens, especially when we are, just wanting to get out all we need to get out um, under the time constraints. So I do not know how this is going to flow. So we will, I guess, find out. And again, right, writers, sometimes, again, better to hit that word count and, and just trust the process, trust that what you did for your introduction and conclusion works, and trust that what you did for your body paragraph will work. I don't like how it goes ears and eyes because we don't really talk like that when we talk about ears and eyes. We say eyes and ears. However, because the prompt was focusing on talking and texting, and talking really requires more listening rather than, and the texting is more visual. So that's why I adjusted that. And you could see that, it required a little bit of maneuvering there on my part. So hopefully you saw the struggle, right, writers? And let's take a look now at the essay in its entirety. And we'll just, our goal is really to check for flow. Then I will do a word count and then we will wrap it up, right, writers? Thank you again for sticking it out here with Cruz. I do appreciate you all being here. Okay, taking it from the top. Driving is a privilege. When opening our car door, entering and starting our vehicle, and placing our hands on the wheel and our feet on the pedals, we sometimes forget that we are about to operate a dangerous machine. However, it is important to remember that this machine requires our full and undivided attention. Therefore, I believe making it illegal to drive while talking and texting on a device is a good law. Indeed, this law should be passed in other states as well. While on the road, our ears and eyes need to be focused on our surroundings rather than our devices. For example, our ears should be listening for emergency vehicles and sirens rather than a distracting voice. Meanwhile, our eyes should be scanning what's ahead of us, what's behind us, and what's around us. Our visual focus should not be on emails and text messages. Therefore, I believe making it illegal to drive while talking and texting on a device is a good law. Driving is a privilege. When we open our car door, enter and start our vehicle, and place our hands on the wheel and our feet on the pedals, it is important to remember that this heavy and large machine requires our full focus and attention. Indeed, those tiny distracting devices should remain out of sight and out of mind. I actually really like this essay, right, writers? I hate that the last sentence, out of sight and out of mind. I wish I could say, you know, out of ears, out of sound, out of sight and out of mind. But I really am pleased with the flow of the essay. I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised, right, writers? And sometimes, again, you have to just trust the process and you have to trust that what you are doing is going to work, especially if you've already read it a couple of times and you've just got to let it go and just focus again on that body paragraph. So, right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize what I have here and let's look at our word count for this persuasive essay and see what our word count is. So in this case, using my tools here, and we've got 226 words. Let me look at that one more time. Wow, I'm I'm proud of that. So 226 words in 20 minutes. Not bad. So, right, writers, thank you so much for watching this video. Please keep in mind that on Tuesdays, the videos will focus primarily on writing. Not always writing persuasive essays, but it seems to be that, I noticed that on a lot of tests and a lot of assignments, students are given persuasive essays. And so that's why this channel seems to be focused heavily on Tuesdays on persuasive essay writing. On Thursdays, videos will primarily be focused on ChatGPT and artificial intelligence and what ChatGPT is able to create with respect to prompts that are provided to us, whether these prompts are given to us on a test or just practicing prompts in general. So two different, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays more on the writing process and the struggle of writing. Thursdays more on seeing how to prompt ChatGPT and examining the response that ChatGPT gives us with respect to how it constructs its own essays. So that hopefully that sort of covers what this channel is primarily focused on, right, writers? Ultimately, that's what this channel is about, ensuring your success as writers and as students. Take care, right, writers. Love you guys. Thank you again for subscribing, liking, and recommending this channel to others. I will see you again soon. Bye bye.